Hello, and welcome to Shane's Microscope. I'm Shane, and this is my microscope. Let's take a peek. Today's sample comes from my wife's jacket. I noticed a feather poking out of one of the seams, so I collected that thing. I dropped it onto a slide. I didn't use any water this time because feathers are coated in oils that repel water, so I thought that might create too many air bubbles. Dropped some cover slips on there to keep the barbs out of my objectives, and we're good to go. As you saw during the introduction, this is a down feather. Those are both Germanic words, and we already know what they mean. A bird's down feathers are very light and fluffy, which makes them incredibly good at trapping air. This is used for both insulation and to increase buoyancy in birds that interact with the water a lot. The fluffy nature of the down feathers makes them desirable as stuffing for fluffy things like pillows, for people who aren't allergic to them in any case. And their insulative properties also make them desirable for use in jackets. According to my research, the down that's used in jackets tends to be goose, duck, or some mixture of the two. The goose down is considered to be the better of the two. I have no idea which this is, but I think we're still going to learn a lot about the feather regardless. Now, starting out at the beginning here, we have the calamus. That comes from Greek kalamos, for reed. That's the part of the feather that's inside of the bird, kind of like a hair bulb. And we can see growing out from the feather are barbs. That comes from the Latin barba, for beard. And growing off of the barbs are barbules, which is just diminutive of barb. Now, this really soft portion of the feather is known as the plumaceous part, and that is from the Latin pluma, for feather, and it's got connotations of softness or showiness. Plumes were often used in decorations. And at high magnification, looking at the barbules, we can see that there are little tiny hooks on them. And these little hooks influence the macro structure of the feather by determining how rigid the formation of those barbules is. Going back to what I would think of as the main shaft of the feather, we have the rachis. That comes from Greek rachis, for spine. And zooming in on that, we can really see that pigmented medulla. That just is Latin for pith. And I think it's interesting the way we can see that pigmentation petering out as you get near the end of the pigmented portion of the rachis. And we can see again under high magnification that there's a lot in common with the hairs that we had looked at in a previous expedition. As we get further out, we reach the Penacious portion of this feather. That comes from the Latin penna, for feather. And we can see that this has a distinctly different macro structure than the plumaceous portion that we had left behind. This is much more organized barbs and barbules. They're not as haphazard as they were in the more downy portion of the feather. And zooming in, we can see why that's the case. These are significantly more hooked, so that helps to hold those barbules in the proper position. Looks like maybe skin cells snuck in there or something. Well, I thought that was a really neat look at the down feather. I'm glad one decided to poke out of that jacket for us to investigate. Alright, well I think we'll leave it there for the day. Thanks for having a look with me. Until next time, keep on peeking.